Episode 2. Scouting. The station of the establishment was only attended by 2 people after it was over. The internal meeting will now begin.
Takuto and Atu sat on a stone pedestal, thinking about their first step. Mynoghra is a civilization that rules over evil and destruction, but also gentle and peace-loving. First of all, we must act on that principle. Yes, that's right, my king. In other words, we should avoid being discovered by others as much as possible. This is the basic rule at the beginning of the game. Exactly, we don't know where we are right now. Our first priority is gathering information without being found by others. Yes, my king. When Takuto saw Atu's happy expression, he responded with a bitter smile and reassessed the situation. About 50 meters from the stone pedestal on which they sat was an open space that was only covered with flowers, but outside there were many trees. He doesn't know what kind of tree. Its roots are large, complicated, and strangely grow above the surface of the ground, so passing through it will be very difficult. The tree itself isn't very tall, but unfortunately, Takuto can't climb trees. Expecting a former patient to do that is very reckless. Atu can't climb, and I'm worried if she goes alone to gather information. Usually, there are bases and search units prepared at the start of the game, but at present, there is no such thing. Atu is not suitable for scouting because she is classified as a combat unit. First of all, her abilities were rather low, and Takuto was worried something might happen. In other words, there are only a few things that can be done right now. Even in such situations, there must be a possible route. It was only a matter of time before the tens of thousands of repeated actions in the previous game will give Takuto a hint. Why don't you use emergency production? Atu responds promptly to whispered words. What is emergency production? Usually, various units are created through production activities in cities. This is the creation of a unit by force using magic resources, which are common resources. Takuto looked into Atu's eyes and nodded. The simulation game Eternal Nations has several primary resources and other resources. Magic power is one of them. Magic power is the most carefully managed resource together with food and ingredients. The basic system of this game is to build a nation by doing various 3 main things, namely building facilities, units, and activities. Magic power has properties similar to money. Using this energy to produce units and buildings directly is a method called emergency production. However, this method has certain disadvantages. Oh, that emergency production will consume my magic power. I don't want to use it because I can't generate it. That's the fact. While scratching his head, he sighed, but no other good ideas came up. Atu also grunts with her arms crossed, but there is no good idea to solve this situation. First of all, the situation is different from the game, and it's natural that 2 people who have just come here will have a headache over this matter. I didn't say anything before, but how much magic power do you have right now? It's about 200 in terms of games. We can use it to fly. Resources are represented by numbers. Just like in the game, Takuto can naturally adapt to that system even in this world. Although he often played with magic power up to the level of tens of thousands at the end of the game, the fact that there were currently only 200 magic powers made him dizzy. There are only 200, I want to use it with caution. What should I produce first? I'm also thinking about building a headquarters and magical production facility, but first I need a surveillance unit. However, Takuto and Atu fully understood that nothing would start by grumbling over 1 cup of wine. Having a comrade in arms might be one of the reasons why they can stay calm. Even though he suddenly came to a world he didn't know, Takuto began to strategize smoothly. Takuto averted his eyes and asked Atu, "Is there any problem?" And the answer is no. Besides, she has great confidence in Takuto, so she won't reject his decision. Then emergency production. Scout. Nonetheless, the dice have been thrown. A burst of invisible power gathered before Takuto's eyes as he shouted. Space was distorted, and something appeared. Its form resembles a grasshopper without a sickle. However, his legs are somewhat thicker and longer than grasshoppers. The eyes stare asymmetrically left and right, and continuously make a nervous, high-pitched voice. This was the scout unit summoned by Takuto Long-Leg Bug. Disgusting, yeah right, he is disgusting. The first thing said by Takuto to the creature he created was criticism. Atu also has the same impression, although this bug is part of the Destruction Army, but its appearance is not convincing. For some reason, Hiroto, who was observing this strange shivering long-leg bug, immediately turned his gaze to the beautiful Atu. Atu, you memorized the contents of the game, so you should be familiar with this, right? In my case, it used to be just a game display, which means 3D images, but to touch this real form is rather how about you touch it now as a commemoration? No, I don't want to. Takuto-sama, why don't you touch it? I don't want to either. Why did you tell me to do that? Nothing, really. My king is mean. I'm sorry. The two started playing together. Long-leg bug just stood still with his big eyes glowing. Of course, the long-leg bug is only waiting for orders with his strange appearance and big eyes, watching both people joking around, almost like he was wondering. Takuto and Atu noticed it, and both of them coughed at the same time. Now long-leg bug-kun. I'll give you an order. Investigate the environment around us. As much as possible avoid contact with living things. Prioritize information gathering. You will complete the mission. Do not disappoint the great Ira Takuto-sama. Ggggi, the long-leg bug is releasing a disgusting long cry, and then run into the shade of the forest. Watching him leave, Takuto and Atu sighed with various thoughts. I'm a little worried, but it seems like he's functioning properly as a subordinate unit. Takuto-sama, how do you feel? Yes, it seems like I can synchronize his vision with mine. It looks like the information obtained by the long-leg bug will naturally accumulate. Haha, this is really like in the game. In Takuto's brain, the world around him is displayed as if it were a 3D map. Intuitively he understood how long-leg bug vision was mapping the area from where it was, so well that he unconsciously started laughing. So far it's all good, is it? By the way, how much magic power is left? We have used up 100 magic power, and the remaining is 100. The amount of magic power needed to make the initial base settlement is 20, and we must use it with caution. We can afford it, but I don't want to waste it anymore. Normally, if you forcibly produce a unit that requires appropriate facilities, time, and resources, the amount of magic power consumed will be very large. In contrast to resettlement land, which is designated as the initial facility required, the amount of magical power consumed by the reconnaissance unit requiring prerequisite facilities and resources will also change significantly. Of course, we cannot afford to make additional units. Actually, I want to prepare a warrior as our fighting force, but that's impossible considering the amount of magic power we have. Surely afterwards we will have difficulty moving. I will try to cover up the lack of our fighting force, but even if we only deal with wild animals, we will have challenges. Atu now has a fighting power of 3. Although she is stronger than non-combat unit long-leg bug whose fighting power is only 1, it is still low. This can be seen clearly from the fact that the initial warrior fighting power is 3, and the wild wolf is 1.5. In other words, the hero units Sludge 2 and Mynoghra are in a very risky situation. If an enemy appears, they might be destroyed immediately. The difficulty level is very high. Of course, I have experienced this same situation several times, but only in games. Takuto thought, in reality, the level of difficulty should be made easier. In his current anxiety, encouragement from Atu is the only source of healing. A few minutes have passed. It seems like the long-leg bug scout unit has fulfilled his role, and the situation of the surrounding area is being sent to Takuto's mind. For them, information is an irreplaceable resource. Moreover, in this situation, it is more valuable than gold. Takuto felt that his frustration and worry had lessened a little, and he stroked his chest and shared the information with Atu. What do you think? Oh, I roughly grasped the terrain around me. It was only a forest, but maybe it was a deep forest. By the way, long-leg bug-kun also didn't see any wild animals or monsters. He was only interested in information sent by the long-leg bug to ensure their safety. There is nothing out of the ordinary. The forest, however, seems vast. Maybe there are still things that have not been found, but it is not known, because the current survey level is not very high. Because the foot and arm of the bugs are moving on their own, the map in his brain is also slightly distorted. What is the condition of the surrounding forest? The dense forest blocks the view, making it the perfect place for hiding. Strangely, there are no demons or wildlife. To be precise, there is no food. Well, we have no choice but to continue the investigation for a while. Sorry I can't be of much aid. Atu raised eyebrows and bowed her head. It looks like she feels bad that she can't help Takuto. She looked like a puppy that had just been scolded, and it was impossible for Takuto not to realize that. It's okay Atu, you just need to accompany me. It was only a short sentence to restore her spirits, but it seemed to be very critical to the girl. Takuto himself didn't think about it that deeply, so he said it casually. But Atu, who heard, immediately looked at him with teary eyes. Takuto finally understands the fact that Atu admires him and loves him as king. She was the type of person who would fully accept Takuto's words, whatever that was. Wow, my king, I'm so touched. Oh, really? That's good. As she approaches him, Takuto can feel her respectful air wraps around him. He who has never been treated so sincerely, his heart is nervous. Still, he is truly happy to receive such admiration. Atu is surprisingly a pleasant girl, even though her setting is an evil hero. Atu looked at Takuto with bright eyes. Except for her distinctive eyes, Atu was not much different from the other girls. She should have been an evil hero from an evil country, but Takuto never expected her to have such a beautiful personality. By the way, what kind of personality is he supposed to be? Is it really the setting? Takuto tried to remember what kind of character Atu was, what basic settings were in the game, but it was strange, nothing come to mind. Sama. Takuto-sama. Are you listening? Wa? What? Sorry, I was spacing out. The doubts are quickly dispersed. He was surprised that Atu was standing right before his eyes and was watching his facial expression. Atu didn't realize that Takuto's chest was beating so hard. Maybe she felt satisfied because his attention was directed back on her. Are you alright? Are you not feeling well? No, I'm just lost in thought. Don't worry. There's a contact from the scout long leg bug kun. That's good, maybe scouts found something. Takuto looked down and began to concentrate on seeing the image in his head. Because he had practiced sharing his vision several times, so he could immediately do it without difficulty. The scenery that was seen by the log leg bug was immediately visible. Its location was in a tree, so high that if he fell from the tree, he must have been seriously injured, so he carefully looked down. Even though the details are not visible because the point of view moves slowly, there are buildings resembling villages and people in sight. Pale bluish-white skin, silver hair, distinctive long ears. According to his memory, it was a race called the Dark Elf. Aren't they dark elves? Not far from here. A settlement. It seems they are gathering. Takuto told Atu briefly, while still closing his eyes and concentrating on watching the reflection he saw. Atu, trying not to disturb his master, she processes information based only on what she hears. Does that mean that this is indeed a fantasy world here? Even though it's called evil, the dark elf attribute is actually neutral, so I think it's safe. After finishing observing objectively, Takuto cancelled the field of view share, while rubbing his eyes. He couldn't get anything but information that there was a dark elf settlement in it, but that was what they were looking for. This greatly reduces their answers about the world they are thrown into. This greatly reduces their choice of answers regarding the world they are visiting. Even so, the number of problems has not decreased. Is this really the Eternal Nation world? To be safe, I want to move carefully. Maybe they were good dark elves, but they were too close. It will be bad if this is their territory. It would be troublesome to border with other countries from the start. Damn, is the location not wrong? If that was the case, let's run away somewhere far away, my king. Right, by running we can win. Because Mynoghra loves silence and peace. War is something only barbarians do. Ha ha ha, they laugh at each other, and continue thinking about the next plan. At the worst condition, his life could be threatened. Takudo thought if it had to happen then so be it. Despite being in this situation, he remained calm, even relaxed despite feeling a little uncomfortable, because of the respect aura emitted by it too. In the end, he believed that everything would be fine, as long as Atu is with him. That's why we must wait until we get more clue. First, we continue to watch over the Dark Elves, and gather more information. If the situation is worsening, we will immediately run away. And escape for just the two of us. I understand, my king, Yuo. Excited, both of them lift their fists up. Like small children who are absorbed in playing games, because no one will stop the exciting action of the two continues without problems. Until that moment, when Atu had praised Takudo several times. They heard the sound of rustling and swaying trees and twigs. Atu turns to the sound source with sharp eyes that are resembling a venomous snake, totally different from her usual appearance. Takudo also stopped his actions and shifted his gaze to the site that Atu was looking at. It is a group of several people. They saw Takudo and Atu. He only met them for the first time, but they already looked familiar. They were the Dark Elves that Takudo and Atu were talking about.
The Eterpedia or translator note is on this video description. Please like or subscribe. Thank you.